Hello everyone and welcome to RTA Motorsports. I'm Crash. We have a Logitech Driving Force GT wheel and we're going to put it to the test. It's kind of an older wheel, but how does it still stack up today?
Welcome to RTA Motorsports.
Okay, so it's kind of not fair because my rig setup that I have, my budget rig, it's a play seat challenge, which is not the best seat in the world, but it works for me and I love it. I have a Thrustmaster TX wheelbase with an add-on wheel and T500 pedals with a custom brake mod, TH8A shifter, although we might not use that, button boxes and track IR with triple screens and so on and so forth. But that is my rig. That is what I use for sim racing. This is new. This is only something I got a few days ago. So I don't really sim race like this in an office chair with, just a wheel attached to a desk and stuff like that. So this is already kind of behind the eight ball. And if you've seen my review of this wheel, you can see what I mean, because it was kind of sad. I got spanked pretty hard. But that being aside, we're going to see if we have the same car, the same track, can we improve our lap times with a better setup. So what we're going to use right now is Assetto Corsa for the circuit tracks and Iracing for the oval tracks. We're going to use all the latest cars and tracks that both are basically offering, because I believe that would make them a little bit more optimized, a little bit better with the force feedback. I'm just kind of guessing, because they both have gone through pretty significant updates lately. So we're going to do the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car. The car is an absolute animal, but it's also a sequential shift car. We're going to use the Barcelona Moto circuit. Now, all the assists, let's just put this on Pro. I don't know why that's on Custom. I never really drive that on Custom. Don't know how that got there. But anyway, we're going to just leave everything on Pro, so that way all the assists are off, like Ideal Racing Line and all that. All that is off. Mechanical damage is all the way up. Traction control is, set to factory. All of that. And we're just going to go in. We're going to see how this works. How many laps? I'm kind of guessing let's do like 3 laps. I think, I'm kind of hooked to my mic here. I'm guessing 3 laps would probably be a good indicator of lap time. Let me adjust my position here. That feels a little bit better. All right. Now, one thing I will say is, yes, I don't really race on this setup at all. Since I got this wheel, I'm kind of messing around with it. But it being just a single monitor, my frames per second are going insane. I've never seen them so high. Whereas on my triple screen setup, I do have an issue with frames per second in some titles like Race Room, where I have to scale back the graphic settings just a little bit. 100 frames per second at the moment. And the good thing about this whole thing is, since the update, I haven't really had the time to sim race much at all. Mainly I've been getting on Iracing, and that was only a few occasions. So I haven't really driven this car at all on my rig, let alone at this track. So this is all completely fresh to me. So that kind of takes the muscle memory part of it out of it. Oh, this is horrible. All right, but it is the first lap. We need to just warm up those tires. We're just going to take the best of 3, so that's 1 gone. You notice that I have the map up, and I still don't know this track. I still need to glance at it for reference. Fairly easy track, but Alright, so the lap is not going to be counted now. But obviously I crashed, so that's not going to make it a fast lap anyway. If it's me or not, but this car feels like it's an understeering monster. Okay, so that last lap we got a 158.321. So now we're going to load up Iracing. You can see there the first lap was just like a warm-up. I got a 248.940. The second lap, of course, we crashed, so that was a 205.744. And the third lap, 158.321. Definitely a lot of room for improvement. I'm still not used to that vehicle at all. That vehicle kind of, it's new to me. It's new to me. It's a new update. Now it's now it's the first time racing even that car on that track. So yeah, not the greatest times. So we're gonna load up Iracing, see how we do there, and then we're gonna go to my budget rig and see how that all works out with you know, the butt kickers and everything going. So okay, so we're in the Silverado right now. We're gonna just do 3 laps around the track and see what it feels like. Again, we're at the Daytona circa 2007 track, and this is the Logitech Driving Force GT wheel. This is a 42-inch TV screen, so we're gonna just pay attention to the best time of 3 laps. So the first lap is just basically gonna be the warm-up. The track state set to not clean off the marbles, so we have marbles around the top of the track. You can see them especially around the turns. Jumping around quite a bit. Force feedback is pretty good. I would say around the straights, I would definitely increase the dampening setting or the minimum force feedback setting, because it feels a little light on center, but it's definitely not because there's a dead zone in the wheel. It just a little lighter force feedback than what I'm used to. We're on the back straight now. We're at 27 seconds, 28, 29. Alright, so there you have it. My best lap time is 50.480 on the 3rd lap. So it's like typical of a qualifying session type setup. You have 2 running laps, 2 timed laps. So, alright, so now we're going to jump in the budget rig and kind of compare with those 2 races and see, well, those 2 time trials and see how we stack up. Alright, so now we're in the rig right now. We have everything going. We have Dash Meter Pro going. We have Track IR going. You see I'm moving my head and that's moving on the screen. So we also have the butt kicker going, and it already feels like sensory overload It's pretty nuts. This is a sequential shift car, so we're going to be using the paddle shifters. I'm not going to use the TH8A shifter right now because we're going to use that when it comes to Iracing, and you know, just a pain in the butt to take the face plates off of it. So again, we're going to do 3 total laps. First lap is kind of a warm-up. Not expecting to do any barn burning lap times on the first lap, so let's heat those tires up, get them going. And I will tell you that this wheel, I mean, the force feedback is a lot stronger, especially like the resistance that you're getting from turn-in, feeling those front tires. It feels a lot more realistic. I wouldn't say it was a fair comparison. It wouldn't be a fair comparison between that wheel and this wheel, as far as like force feedback quality and stuff like that. But you know, that wheel versus something like a T100, being that you get 900 degrees of rotation, the force feedback, the resistance is not as torquey as like the T100 that I had, but as a total package, I feel it's a better package. Pedals are about the same, but you know, you get that sequential shifter, you get all those buttons, you still get paddles on the back. Not as good paddles as like what you get on the T100. T100 actually has like little paddles that were really nicely placed. They were plastic as well, but you know, they weren't buttons. But I just feel that the DFGT would be a better choice for anyone that's considering either one. Now the T150 may be a different story, I'm not sure. Right now we're getting about 73 frames per second with a similar graphic setting as we were with just running a single monitor. Was, you know, well over 100 frames per second, so you can see the impact that having triple 1080p monitors have on a graphics card. Again, my card's only, you know, R9 290X Tri-X 8GB from Sapphire, which I absolutely love that card. It's a good budget card to have. Performs really well. You have 8GB of VRAM for you know, running triple screens, and you know, overclocks well. I'm not overclocked right now. I'm running everything stock except for my CPU. I have that overclocked to 4.6 gigahertz. Just a mild overclock, just for the sake of having an overclock. I do notice a difference when it comes to frames per second on some games, some titles. So I definitely feel quicker in this rig, and you know, it feels more comfortable. It's definitely, at first it was like sensory overload, especially with moving my head and feeling the butt kicker going, feeling the track and feeling my shifts. Seeing this dash kind of flash in my face, it just, I mean, you might as well put me in a motion rig. It just, but you know, with the better pedals and the wheel, I can feel more of what's going on with the car. I don't feel like the car is as understeer friendly as I thought it was. Like it kind of, it just feels a lot more comfortable to drive. Okay, so let's see what we got. I definitely felt faster, and I do have my lap times here, but I was trying to ignore it. So look at that, new personal best, 154.126, and that was on the last lap. You could see between my second lap and my last lap, I was much more consistent than my second lap and last lap with the other wheel. And screen, I felt like I could look around the turns better. I felt like I had more to view. I didn't feel like I was like in a tunnel. So far, I would say if you're running single screen and you have to, due to either you know, room or budget or whatever, a track IR would have helped me out greatly to not feel as confined in my field of view and what I was looking at. So, you know, that was a big issue. I felt like I couldn't see the rest of the track and what I was turning into as well as I can with this here. Another big difference is the brake. I felt like I wasn't just locking up the brakes all the time as much as I was with that car. I mean that setup with the pedals. But you can see the first lap is 228, and that was just a warm-up, and then I dropped down to 155.64, so that's already beating my fastest lap time over there of 158, I believe it was, and then 154.126, so that's more than 4 seconds off my best lap time over there with only 3 laps. So so now we're gonna get out of this and we're gonna go into Iracing and go into that same truck, same track state, and see what we do there. What we have to do now is we're just setting up the sound settings, but we're in the Chevy Silverado. Again, we had to set the setup to the Daytona 2011. This is the 2007 track that Iracing has just released. This feels like a totally different animal. I mean, it really makes you appreciate if you have a rig. Got kicked there in the rear from the butt kicker because of the I guess there was a crack in the track, and when I went over it, felt it hit me pretty hard. But yeah, it makes you appreciate your rig. Going from a simple setup to a triple screen setup, it just feels so much more immersive. And then with the track IR, this is so much better of a place to be. But then again, if you have to have single screen, there's nothing wrong with that. Get the biggest single screen you can, but definitely get a track IR, because that was my problem. You know, amongst other things, I just felt like I was confined. Now you would notice that up there it says 65 frames per second. It's because I have a frame cap, only to, you know, and these are only 60 hertz monitors, so so I have it set to 65 frames per second as a cap to kind of help the card stay cool. So anything above 60 is just kind of useless for these monitors. Alright, so we have 50.731, and we have one more lap to do. $27, $28, $29. It's going to be close. I don't remember what my lap times were on that last one, but I remember it was around there. Huh, 50.435. Now, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the footage, but I think that's really close. That is really close. I will tell you that it felt a lot better. It felt a lot more controlled in this setup here. Granted, I may be used to it, but it just, everything just felt better. It was a better place to be. A lot had to do with the wheel and the triple screens, followed by the track IR and the pedals. So, but I'm not sure if those track times are faster or not. So, there you go. Alright everyone, that was tons of fun. So, as you can see with my rig, with the triple screen monitors, you have the track IR going, you have the pedals going with the brake mod, the hydraulic brake mod, Dash Meter Pro showing me my shift points, the gear I'm in, current, you know, past lap times and stuff like that, TH8A shifters, and just a better seating position. All in all, has made me a faster driver. Granted, I am used to that setup. I haven't really sim raced. I would say it's been a few weeks now. It's been quite a few weeks. I haven't really used the rigs at all since the updates for Assetto Corsa and Iracing just recently came out. So, you know, I could use a lot of practice, as it was pretty apparent. But on this rig here versus that rig in Assetto Corsa, driving the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car around Barcelona, I was 4 seconds faster with my rig. I just felt like I could see around the turns better. I felt like, especially with the track IR, I just had more of a view. I felt with the single monitor here, although it was a bigger monitor and everything felt a little bit more true to actual size, I felt like I was kind of looking down a tunnel. I felt like I was a little constricted, and especially being that I've never raced at Barcelona at all, never really driven around the track too much. I mean, I did do it with this wheel to do the review, and it kind of was a fail. Being that I should say I don't know the track that well. I haven't really spent the time to learn the track. I was having to use my map a lot, and I felt like I couldn't see around the turns and kind of, you know, see if, you know, what were the track, what was the track like, the elevations and the different pitching of the turns, and you know, because the map kind of will tell you where you're going and where the turns are, but I like to look into the turns a little bit and kind of see if I'm going to be going into an off-camber turn, or you know, what the elevation changes might be like, because it kind of helps your braking points a little bit too, because you can have a sharp turn coming in, but if it's an off-camber turn, you're going to definitely want to brake a little harder and reduce your speed a lot more. So, you know, those are the things that I felt like I was kind of constricted from, and I couldn't really take advantage of the larger screen that well. I kind of felt like I did set up the field of view to feel what it would be like correct for me, but if I'm running a single screen like this, definitely track IR would have helped me out greatly. But that is on my rig over there, so I didn't want to bring that over here because that's a part of the immersion experience over there. Another thing that has helped me out kind of get a little bit of faster lap times was the force feedback. The force feedback on this wheel is great. It's great for the price, it's great for the year and the technology that was provided. It's definitely a good starter wheel. If you're looking to just get a cheap wheel, see if maybe you'll like sim racing, definitely an awesome package here. But I felt like with my wheel, it just felt a lot more realistic. The force feedback and the resistance from the wheel, I was able to feel when the understeer was actually starting to engage, and I felt like when I was starting to lose the front end of my car a little bit, and I felt like when I was starting to oversteer, especially in the Lamborghini Huracan, I was able to save it a lot quicker and a lot easier, whereas with this, the car was already starting to kick out a little bit too much from me. I was still able to save it, which is, you know, good praise for the wheel, but I felt like it was farther along, whereas I was getting a lot more data a lot faster with that wheel there, and it just felt like a much more realistic experience. These pedals leave a lot to be desired from the Logitech, but I must say, if you're getting a Thrustmaster TX wheel or a T300 wheel, you're not getting much better. There are a lot of mods you could do to these wheels, to these pedals, to kind of increase that brake force that's required, so that way you're using more of the muscle memory aspect of your foot rather than ankle position. And I felt like I was going back to ankle position memory rather than muscle memory. As soon as I stepped into my rig, I felt like I wasn't locking up the tires as much as I was with this, especially going around some of the sharper turns where, you know, you're going in from a fast straight into a sharp hairpin. And a lot of those turns at Barcelona are a little bit tricky, especially them being flat turns or off camber turns. So braking points are definitely an important thing, especially at that track. And I felt like I was in a lot more control with my rig. Now, the lack of the butt kicker over here could have easily have been remedied from me just slapping the butt kicker on the bottom of this chair, because it is a it is the Gamer 2, which can go on office chairs, but I wanted to leave it over there for the full immersion experience again. I felt like, you know, especially going around the tracks, feeling my shift points and feeling the track, it just added to that immersion aspect. But it also, I felt like it was giving me some data. When I was just racing over here, I kind of felt like there was something turned off. And I think it was the butt kicker. I just felt like I was almost running without hearing my own vehicle, which is kind of like a weird thing to feel. I just felt like I was missing something that was pretty apparent. And so that's kind of what it felt like running without the butt kicker. It was bothering the heck out of me. I just felt like I was running with the volume off. And the track IR, again, further helped me look around the track and kind of felt a little bit more natural. I don't think about turning my head. I just turn my head, and I have it set up at 0.2 of an acceleration with the smoothness set to 0. And with that, I felt like, especially looking around the turns, being that I just naturally turn my head a little bit once you stop thinking about it, it just helped me kind of see a little bit more of the track real estate, rather than with this I felt like I was just going through a tunnel. So now going into Iracing, that wasn't a 4-second difference. That was like a 0.3 of a second difference. It was a lot closer there, especially on the final lap. My lap times were a lot closer on this setup than it was here. But, you know, it still was a really close race. So, you know, that could have been user error, or even though I felt like I was doing pretty good on this. I think I remember the times now. I think I got 50.78 here and 50.5 or 50.45 here. All right, so it was a few tenths of a second different. I thought I got 50.7 something on both. But yeah, it was a few tenths of a second difference. So in oval racing, that could actually be a position or two. So depending on how close the race is, that could actually make a big difference. But, you know, it's still pretty darn close. Not worlds of a second difference, not, you know, seconds off, but still pretty darn close. But I felt a lot more confident in my rig. I just felt, it felt like a much more comfortable place to be in, especially with the Chevy Silverado. That truck bounces all over the place, especially when you're trying to get in and tuck into the turns quite a bit. I just felt like I had a lot more control of the vehicle here, especially on the straights. You know, I have the damper settings and the minimum settings set all the way down to like 0. But still, I was getting some feedback on the straights, whereas here, I felt like I was just kind of freewheeling a little bit. You know, it wasn't necessarily the wheel's fault, because there's no dead zone on 0. It's just the force feedback is a lot less than what I'm used to over here. So that's pretty much it. I felt the experience of everything that I have in my rig helped me have the faster lap times, and it helps me feel a lot more comfortable and kind of get immersed and a little bit more serious about the sim racing experience. I felt like I was a lot more focused and not really thinking as much of, oh man, I can't see around the track. Oh man, this brake pedal is kind of driving me up a wall. Where when I was over there, I just was just going with it, and I was just focusing on the vehicle. So hope you enjoyed. I hope it answers any questions anyone may have ever had with, you know, should I run triple or not, should I get track IR or not. Just my whole rig here, which is going to evolve over time, I felt kind of helped me get that faster lap time. So again, I'm going to try not to repeat myself again. Hope you have a great day. Again, if you're a sim racer or a racer in general, race on, and see you all out on the track.